I don't even know where to start with this. Welcome to this reaction video for Doctor Who The Giggle. I've just finished watching it and Unleashed and the commentary as well. And there is so much to take in on this one, and I'm likely going to miss things out along the way. Now, look, this video is going to contain spoilers. So if you've not seen The Giggle yet, please watch that first and then come back and join me as we go beyond the sofa. The Giggle, which also stars Neil Patrick Harris as a returning character, the Toymaker, marks the end of David Tennant's journey as the 14th Doctor. Somehow 3 stories just doesn't seem enough, but I'm also excited to see where we're going to end up come Christmas. From the very beginning, The Giggle pulls you in with its intricate plot, with its stunning visuals. And you know, in Wild Blue Yonder, we saw a show that I think is mostly pretty good. But it did have perhaps a few moments of uncanny valley or places where the effects didn't quite work. In The Giggle, we are taken into a world where the effects just look incredible. And as well as that, this is an episode that entertains and it makes you think as well. It challenges the norms of what we've come to expect from Doctor Who, all while staying true to the heart and soul of the series. The episode begins in 1925 at the invention of television. It's a lovely thought that the Toymaker actually set up his plan that early in our history, and this scene is nicely paced and played out. It's a good cold open, and I mention the pacing here because it's pretty much the only respite that we're going to get until very near the end of the episode. After the credits, we jump straight into the action as the Doctor and Donna are picked up by UNIT as the world around them is going mad. And one thing to notice here is the set design. UNIT looks exceptional. It's a big set, it's really well put together, and it looks glorious. Much like the work that's been done on the Tardis set. You can really kind of feel like you can reach into the screen and press the buttons here. There's been some speculation about a UNIT spin-off. I think that this shows a high-end TV show like that could actually work really well. And it's here we also meet the Vlinks, who I think that we'll probably be seeing again somehow, and we're reintroduced to Bonnie Langford as Mel. Now, look, as a classic Doctor Who fan, this brought a bit of a tear to my eye, and then something even more special happened as we see Mel actually being a useful member of UNIT and finally using that computing degree that she had in the 1980s. And this is really nice to see. You know, I was never the biggest fan of Mel in the series, and that's mostly because all she does is take up that space of woman who just screams a lot. And that's something that the new series has done really well to try and get away from. To see Mel have character development and depth and usefulness was what that character deserved. And I'm really, really glad that we got to hear from her again. We also see Donna being brilliant and solving the first riddle of the episode, again showing that she's not just useful, but a vital member to the team. In fact, I was left wondering if there was anything of the Doctor left inside her brain, because this really wasn't the Donna that we saw originally in The Runaway Bride. If Russell T Davies does one thing exceptionally well, it's that character development stuff, and here we see it taken to extremes, showing how far Donna has come because of travelling with the Doctor. Long story short, too late! We finally get to the Toymaker as the Doctor and Donna track him down to a small shop in Soho in the 1920s. Included here are the clips that we'd seen before of the episode. And I wasn't wholly convinced about Neil Patrick Harris's German accent, but I've later learned that what he said was written with those inflections having been written into the script. And this does put a bit of a new spin on things for me, as the rest of his performance seemed really good. You've got a performer here who has that splash of Broadway about him, and he brings all of his performance into this part. It'd be easy to make the Toymaker a figure of fun and sort of ruin any real threat that's felt by the character. But luckily, that's not what's happened here. And right from the off, he feels like a real threat to our heroes. The central conflict of The Giggle isn't just about the Doctor facing off against the Toymaker. It's deeper than that. It's about the Doctor's internal struggle, his identity crisis, how he copes with the legacies of his companions. Donna brings this to light in a poignant way, highlighting how the Doctor is staggering along, weighed down by his past and uncertain of his identity. This sets the stage for what could be a transformative phase in the Doctor's journey. Could we be seeing a path towards a less burdened Doctor, perhaps, one who's ready to let go of the past? And then there's the Toymaker, a character who embodies not just physical threat, but psychological warfare. His return is not just a nod to the show's history, but a representation of the Doctor's oldest fears and challenges. The Toymaker's mind games and his control over reality are a stark reminder of the Doctor's vulnerabilities. As the Doctor enters the world of the Toymaker, the story really starts to take off. The Toymaker's presence ups the ante. It introduces a level of tension and uncertainty that keeps us on the edge of our seats. What makes this turning point so compelling is how it blends classic Doctor Who elements, the blend of sci-fi and horror, the intricate character dynamics, with something fresh and unexpected. It's a reminder of why we love the show, its ability to reinvent itself while staying true to its roots. A lot of the specials have felt like they're dealing with this sort of reinvention, that they almost feel like everything's been building to this point. During a rather fraught chase through a maze of doors, the Doctor and Donna find themselves split up. The Doctor has to face a taunting by the Toymaker, and actually we see, and again, this is sort of focused on the internal journey, but we see the way that the Toymaker makes his toys and the actual threat to the Doctor and Donna. But it's Donna who really shines in this section, with a lovely, creepy scene where she's terrorised by the rest of the Stookie family. And this is a truly chilling scene. I think it even beats the horror moments in Wild Blue Yonder. And what makes it really work well is the expert puppetry. The team behind this is actually the team behind His Dark Materials. So they've got a lot of experience doing this sort of thing, and it really shows. This section is possibly the best scene in the entire episode, which is saying a lot. And once you get behind the surprises, the shocks, the novelty of some of the later scenes, you find that this one has more substance and emotional depth. Donna really takes charge in this scene, moving from somebody who is scared and being acted on to choosing her own path. It's a microcosm of the episode as a whole, and it works incredibly well in this instance. At the end of this sequence is possibly my favourite few shots in the episode. There is a lovely section where Donna opens a door to see the Doctor. He moves to hug her, and as they cut to a shot with the Doctor in focus, they change the background of the shot, changing the location for our protagonists. It's a really, really nice bit of editing work. Now, I know I'm going to skip over some of the things here because there is, as I said, so much in this episode that I'd like to talk about. But we have the puppet show about the Doctor's dead companions, the moment the Doctor tells Donna to run and she's already running. She knows the score by now. There's the game where the Doctor loses. And in fact, I think that is really the story, the narrative, telling us that the Doctor is not actually ready to win at this point. He still has things to figure out. And it's not until later that the internal struggle is answered with the regeneration. All of this is really good stuff, and the tension and the pacing in the Toymaker's world keeps pushing along at an alarming rate. But we keep up with the Doctor and Donna as they make their way back to Unit with the Toybox, which is left behind by the Toymaker. And again, we get a lovely moment where the Toymaker taunts the Doctor, this time by killing Unit soldiers and dancing to the Spice Girls. It's actually a lot more entertaining than it sounds if you just write it down. And it does highlight that beyond the Toymaker's playful exterior is a truly malevolent force. He's not evil, he's got no interest in what is right or wrong, but he will do anything in his power to win. And here we see the consequences if somebody gets in his way. All of this leads to a standoff with a giant gun where the Doctor is shot and Bi-Regenerates. For those wanting a multi-Doctor story, well, we have it here. 14 teams up with 15 to stop the Toymaker once and for all. This whole idea of Bi-Regeneration might be new and it might be a bit different in the Doctor Who universe, but it does feel somewhat earned. One thing that you need with sci-fi is internal consistency. Good narrative reasons for decisions will be accepted, and I think that they found a good internally consistent reasoning for the change here. As somebody who wasn't a fan of the Timeless Child, I really don't think that this was doing the same thing at all. We've already seen regenerations not quite go as planned. We've seen a hand regenerate into a whole new Doctor, and those who follow Big Finish will know that they kind of do this sort of thing from time to help keep things fresh. What we see here is the Doctor hit by a made-up energy that could have any property in the universe during a time where we have no idea about how his regenerations work, how many are left, or what possible consequences could be of facing something like this. Even if you ignore the Timeless Child arc, we don't know the ramifications of the Time Lords giving Matt Smith's Doctor more regeneration energy. Anything could have happened. What this allows us to do, though, is to say goodbye to a Doctor without the tears and the regret. He's not gone. He's still out there somewhere. We may never see him again, but that's all right. For a character who had a pretty bad death when he was the 10th Doctor, 14 finally gets to live out a normal life. It was something that he didn't know that he needed, but it was something that will allow him to start healing again. Possibly one of the least believable parts of the episode was the duplication of the TARDIS. And again, I think you have to contend with the internal logic of the episode. Two people won a prize from a supernatural, godlike being outside the normal confines of time and space. Only one person collected it, so the other one got to choose their prize as well. It works. Perhaps the way that it was done could have been a little bit more finessed. From what I hear on the commentary, that was likely due to budgetary constraints. And you know what? I'm okay with that. That's to say, I will make my peace with it, and I'm sure most people will. To conclude, the Giggle was fast-paced, action-heavy. It was a romp with some lovely character moments, with some nice mood shifts between light and dark tones. It delivered on many things. It gave us something new, but I'd also argue that it did respect the old as well. I like how Unit feels a lot more cohesive in this special, given though that we don't see them for very long. It actually did a really good job to show them in situ. I like the idea of Donna joining them and becoming as competent as Mel, possibly more competent than Mel, when having to mix with the Unit crowd. The one problem I had, it's an issue that occurs through many of Russell T Davies's scripts, and that was the solution to the Toymaker seems to have been wrapped up rather quickly. The end game of life and death is fun and it's fast-paced, but it doesn't really ramp up the tension to make the Toymaker's fumble quite as satisfying a conclusion as it could have been. I'm not sure what actually would have helped here. Possibly a slower-paced final game with the Toymaker wrestling between which Doctor to throw the ball at, which chance would be better. I would have liked perhaps for the fumble to have been a little less of a mistake and a little bit more of an earned process through the Doctor's skill. But again, I'm not sure how that you could rewrite the show to do that. Ultimately, this episode had an awful lot of heart. It did end on a high note, and I think that it wrapped up the original run of New Who very nicely. The new Doctor is now off to start season 1 all over again, the baggage of previous incarnations released into the universe. And I'm really excited to see what we get next. And that's what I think anyway. Please keep this conversation going in the comments below. And I would be thrilled if you would join me next time when we go Beyond the Sofa.